A scream shattered the morning of the wedding of the wealthiest family on the island. On the beach in front of the villa, the body of a young woman lay motionless amidst the waves, her wrists bruised, her feet deeply gashed, and not far away lay a suspicious oyster cracker. The more the police investigated, the more they discovered the victim was pregnant, secretly having an affair with the most powerful man in the family, while DNA from multiple people was found on the body. So who turned a lavish wedding into the scene of a premeditated murder? The Winbury family was the wealthiest family on Nantucket Island. To celebrate their son's second wedding, they had specially organized a party at their seaside villa. Everyone at the party seemed very close. Before the wedding, everyone behaved very amicably, but on the morning of the wedding, a scream shattered that facade. Dan receives a call reporting a body found floating near the Winbury mansion. The victim is Benji. Dan immediately informs his daughter, Chloe, who is in charge of catering for the wedding. After he leaves, she picks up a blood-stained shirt. She becomes even more uneasy when she notices the bloodstains. The lipstick stain on the glass indicates the victim had been sitting there for a while. The police gather everyone present at the station for questioning. Everyone comments on the Winbury family, saying they are so wealthy they can do bad things without fear of punishment, even murder. The first person to discover the victim is Amelia, his fiancée. She is very distraught. It takes her a while to speak. The story begins one day before the murder. Amelia is a zookeeper. True to her profession, she cherishes life. Even if it's just a ladybug, she'll gently return it to nature. She came from a humble background, possessed no great wealth, and had no fame. Her becoming the second daughter-in-law of an upper-class family was a rare occurrence. At least, that's what Greer, Mrs. Winbury, thought. She was a renowned author with thousands of readers willing to line up just to get their hands on her books as soon as possible. She set a strict set of rules that everyone had to follow. If Amelia ate even one more bite of bread, Greer would ask if she still fit into her wedding dress. But Greer was incredibly indulgent towards her three sons. Thomas was a playboy who liked mixing all sorts of drugs. Even though his wife, Abby, was only a month away from giving birth, he showed no intention of taking on any husbandly responsibilities. And Will's relationships were always broken, but Greer always thought it was just that the girls lacked judgment. Greer's husband, Mr. Tagg, was the heir to a $40 million fortune. He always exuded the aura of a mature man. In his free time, he would repair the small boat. To outsiders, they were a model couple, until one day, the jeweler delivered the custom-made wedding ring. He asked Greer if she liked the bracelet Tagg had chosen. She felt a pang of suspicion but still complimented it. In fact, it had been a long time since he had given her a gift. She looked through recent bills in her office and discovered something unusual. The gold-plated, diamond-studded bracelet worth $18,000, if not for her, must have been for another woman. This proved Tagg was having an affair. Just then, Benji came to her and said that she treated Amelia badly. Everyone noticed that she looked down on Amelia's background, but she had her own opinion. The first time she met Tagg's parents, she bought a whole new wardrobe, learned how to eat lobster, and tried to understand the family's tastes. But Amelia clearly couldn't do that. Early in the morning, she was walking around the house in her underwear, bringing shame to the family. What angered Greer even more was that a girl from such an ordinary background could win Benji's love. This made her extremely resentful. While Greer was strolling on the beach, she received a call from her agent informing her that the next week would be the launch of her new book. People magazine even wanted to interview her and Tagg as a model couple. After hanging up, she received a call from her brother, Broderick. She immediately declined the call. Tagg took Amelia to pick up her parents, who had traveled from afar. Her father had cared for her mother for many years. Amelia's mother had a terminal illness, so she had to wear a wig. Her greatest wish before she died was to see her daughter in a wedding dress. She even prepared a basket of fruit, but the maid only glanced at it and criticized it, saying that plastic-wrapped items were unworthy of the lives of the upper class. The other guests arrived one after another. Amelia's best friend, Merritt, was the bridesmaid. Her arrival made Greer suddenly realize something. The groom, Benji, had his best friend Sniper as his best man. Greer had invited him to the party. Everyone was there. Merritt took many photos and posted them on her blog. She was a somewhat famous influencer, but most people didn't like her. They called her a bad girl, indecent. She had dated the owner of an auction house, a friend of Abby's, so Abby thought she was just a show-off, clinging to power. Amelia and Merritt were longtime friends, so they confided in each other. Actually, the wedding was very ambiguous. Amelia saw Benji, but she didn't feel any love for him that would make her want to risk her life for him. She wasn't sure if she truly wanted to get married, or if it was just to fulfill her mother's wish. Merritt said that was okay. Whether she gets married or not, Merritt will support her. Amelia's mother needed to take her regular medication. The basic medications were all in a box, but this time, she secretly brought along another type of medication, 3 pills carefully hidden in the lining of the medicine box. Amelia looked out the window and saw Merritt playing in the pool, but her eyes occasionally glanced at Sniper. There were some secrets she had kept until now, never revealing them. Benji had even brought a special painting specifically for Amelia. She wanted to cuddle with him like any other couple, but she couldn't. There was an invisible wall between them. Amelia went to the beach to burn off some energy. She didn't know how long it took her to finally clear her mind of the jumbled thoughts. The night before the wedding, during the rehearsal, Merritt, as the best bridesmaid and the bride herself, was the first to give a congratulatory speech. Everyone applauded. Only Greer's expression seemed awkward. Abby repeatedly urged Thomas to buy an apartment soon. The end of the month was the deadline for repayment, but he didn't dare tell her that he had borrowed money from Tag and only received a few sarcastic remarks. A small, unpleasant incident occurred at the dinner party, but overall, everything went smoothly, and the official wedding ceremony began its countdown. As dawn broke, Amelia put on her wedding dress, feeling a little nervous about her upcoming married life. She turned around and saw a figure bobbing on the waves. The person's clothing looked very familiar. Her heart tightened. She ran with all her might to the person and screamed. The victim was Merritt. After the crime, the police found a knife used for shucking oysters near the scene, awaiting forensic confirmation. Amelia was still reeling from the shock of her best friend's death. She kept repeating that it was all her fault. If only she hadn't argued with Merritt that night. Would things have turned out differently if Merritt hadn't been left alone for a walk? A quick forensic report revealed water in Merritt's lungs. She had a deep wound on her left foot. Both wrists were bruised. Her phone had been swept away by the waves and washed ashore. 9 meters away, a men's jacket was found. For now, that was all the available clues. Abby was washing dishes in the kitchen. She was startled by the sudden questioning from the police, but calmly replied that she and Thomas had gone back to their bedroom around 10 o'clock last night. She didn't know what happened at the party, but Abby knew Merritt had had questionable relationships with several men. After this incident, the wedding had to be postponed. The wedding gifts from guests had to be set aside. Abby secretly took some valuable jewelry. The custom-ordered wedding cake had to be frozen. Amelia returned home from the police station. She recalled seeing Merritt's new ring. That was the cause of their argument. The man who was having an affair with Merritt was Tag. Tag brought coffee to the investigating inspector. He spoke clearly and asked about the progress of the investigation. He hoped the police would conclude it was a drunken drowning accident. But based on the scene and Merritt's social connections, the inspector suspected that a man close to her had been rejected by her. He became enraged and murdered her, then fabricated the scene to make it look like a drowning. Greer's new book launch press conference was approaching. To ease media pressure, Greer prepared a statement explaining that Merritt's death was due to her overwhelming stress, leading her to do something rash. Her death was like a small stone thrown into the sea, creating a ripple that would quickly fade and be forgotten. Only Amelia silently watched Merritt's videos every day, filled with grief, but she still had to think about Benji's family. She was forced to sign a confidentiality agreement. The police found 2 different DNA samples on Merritt's body. One of them belonged to Sniper, but when they went to the house he had financed, he had long since fled. He wanted to leave on the fastest ferry. Luckily, Dan and his partner reacted quickly. They split up and blocked Sniper's escape route. At a hotel, Thomas secretly met a woman named Isabel. She was a friend of Tag and Greer, and also one of the guests at the party. She managed all of Thomas's investment funds. The two had maintained a clandestine relationship for 6 months. Abby didn't care much about Thomas's affairs. She only cared about when she had to get her hair done, whether exercising would cause stretch marks, and when the apartment would be transferred to her name. All her attention was focused on herself. Broderick called Greer again, but she continued to refuse. Tag brought wine and drank with Greer. Before leaving, she reminded him to clear the table. She also deliberately added a cryptic remark, implying that she shouldn't always have to clean up after him. Tag wanted to talk to Amelia, but he didn't know where to begin. Finally, he could only utter one sentence, that Merritt was a very special girl. Seeing his confused expression, Amelia suddenly had a terrifying thought. Could Merritt's death be related to him? She immediately drove to the police station that night and recounted the entire secret relationship between Tag and Merritt. She only asked one thing, that the police quickly investigate the cause of Merritt's death. The police said that the autopsy report indicated that Merritt had been assaulted before her death. Amelia was filled with remorse. She didn't know if she should reveal the reason for their argument the day before. Her anger stemmed from Merritt developing feelings for Tag. More importantly, Merritt was pregnant. This could be a crucial clue to solving the case. Amelia chose to tell the truth. Merritt and Tag met at a beach party a year ago. While everyone was dancing, Merritt, while on the phone, noticed Tag sitting alone on the beach in the distance. A young, attractive girl met a wealthy, mature man. They were like two magnets drawn to each other. This was inherently an irresistible attraction. It's just that Amelia didn't foresee the seriousness of the situation at the time. But Merritt wasn't the easy girl people rumored her to be. She liked to have fun, seemed rebellious, but had never casually been involved with anyone. Her acceptance of a relationship with a married man like Tag proved she was truly in love. It's just that no one knew if Tag was truly in love with Merritt, or if he was only interested in marriage and reputation. When someone wants to hold on to something, it's easy to do extreme things. That's also why Amelia decided to go to the police. Greer couldn't sleep. She recalled the day the guests arrived at the party. At first glance, Greer had seen Merritt and the diamond bracelet on her wrist. It turned out Greer had known about Merritt's relationship with her husband for a long time. Tag tried to find the receipt for the bracelet but couldn't find it in the drawer. Amelia noticed his embarrassment, so she sneaked to the office that night to search. Greer seemed to be trying to prevent Amelia from discovering something. Despite the murder, Greer calmly planned for the press conference for her new book a few days later. That afternoon, she and Tag had to attend a media interview. Once again, they played the role of a model couple in front of the cameras. They even had to take family photos. Although Amelia was still grieving the death of her best friend, Greer insisted that she smile during the interview. And then something unexpected happened. Will was absent from such an important press conference. He wanted to quit smoking. He secretly broke into Dan's house. The first question he asked Chloe was, "You haven't told your father yet, have you?" Their whispering aroused Dan's suspicion. He asked why Will had climbed through the window instead of the main entrance. He then noticed a fresh wound on Will's hand. Clearly, his hand had been intact before the crime. Chloe had always concealed the truth. In fact, before the crime, Will had invited her to his secret base, where his small boat was kept. While they were chatting, he spotted Merritt in the distance. He immediately abandoned Chloe and ran off. He didn't return until late at night with a wounded palm. The stain on Chloe's shirt came from that incident. In everyone's memory, Will was quite adorable as a child. But since turning 15, he had suddenly become strange. He always locks himself in his room and refuses to talk to anyone. So, could he be involved in Merritt's death? Where did he go that night? Why was he injured? Abby is constantly worried about getting stretch marks on her stomach. Every day she studies how to make her own skincare products. Amelia doesn't seem to care much about her daily routine. Amelia was about to leave when Abby casually reminded her that if she wanted to survive in this family, she had to stay out of it. That was a lesson she learned after 5 years as Thomas's wife. Being Greer's daughter-in-law meant accepting her bizarre rules. Abby had also signed a confidentiality agreement regarding an incident that happened 5 years ago when Will was 15. At that time, he had hired a French tutor named May to teach at home. She worked for the family for 2 months before suddenly disappearing. Greer feared this would damage her reputation, so she asked all family members to sign a waiver. Her husband and 3 sons were no exception. That afternoon, the media interviewed the model couple, married for 29 years. When asked what was most important for maintaining a relationship, Greer replied that when one side makes a mistake, big or small, the other should stand up to defend them. During the interview, Tag enthusiastically spoke flowery words about love and loyalty to Greer. He even sang, but Greer was clearly unhappy. She criticized the song as too cheesy and said it would ruin her image as an upper-class lady. This comment ruined the perfect interview. Tag sincerely said that he didn't care about a perfect image or what others thought. He just wanted her to go somewhere far away. Just the two of them. But she didn't listen to a word he said. She was busy continuing the interview and didn't have time to talk about such frivolous things. The police deciphered Merritt's phone and discovered that for several weeks prior, a number had been calling her repeatedly until the night of the crime. She had never answered. Voicemail revealed the caller was Benji. He knew about her relationship with his father and wanted to warn her not to hurt Amelia because of it. Amelia was surprised to find many photos of Merritt in Benji's drawer, including some in swimwear. This made her wonder if Benji was truly as he portrayed himself or if it was all a facade. The media took a group family photo, calling them the perfect family. Everyone was smiling brightly, but who was genuine, who was fake? Greer noticed Sniper wasn't at the photo shoot. She regretfully said it would have been so much better if he had been there too. According to family members, Greer loved Sniper very much and had treated him like her own son. Currently, there is no further evidence to charge Sniper, so he is safe for the time being. The police investigation revealed that the Winbury family's money had all been placed in a new trust fund. The money was only withdrawn when Will turned 20. Each son received a share. Greer's annual book money was used to cover family expenses. Tag was unemployed and had always lived off his wife. Sniper returned to the mansion just in time for dinner. He pulled Greer aside and whispered to her, saying he wouldn't reveal the trust fund. Everyone at the table knew, but remained silent. Amelia followed suit, but she asked several questions. Why did Greer make everyone sign confidentiality agreements? What had happened to May? If her death wasn't related to anyone, why the cover-up? Who was Greer trying to protect? At this point, the truth could no longer be concealed. Thomas, already resentful that Tag wouldn't lend him money, spoke up and revealed that 5 years prior, Tag had been romantically involved with May. Their breakup nearly drove her to do something reckless. Greer and Tag then used their power to pressure her. Finally, they used money to silence her and reconcile, allowing her to leave quietly. That's why she suddenly disappeared. Will was in love with May that year. Because of that, he was devastated for a long time, even changing his personality. The cover-up was finally torn apart. Everyone signed the confidentiality agreement again. So are those two events related? The police discovered a video of the wedding ceremony showing Will arguing with Merritt. The forensic report also yielded results. The fingerprints on the oyster shucking knife belonged to Will. The bloodstains on the beach belonged to both Merritt and Will. Will, disappointed with his family, decided to set sail alone. Chloe left home to follow him without hesitation, accepting his invitation. Everyone worried and searched for them. Only Tag remained calm, saying, "Don't worry, I assure you they'll be all right." Amelia reread Merritt's blog. In the video, Merritt had said Amelia was the best friend in the world. As for Benji's concern, Amelia couldn't tell if it was genuine or fake. She didn't want to think about it anymore. She just took her flashlight and went out to find Will. Unexpectedly, on the small boat, Will's secret base, Amelia discovered Merritt's diamond bracelet. Amelia wasn't sure who Merritt had revealed her pregnancy to, but her intuition told Amelia that the whole family was involved in the murder. That could explain why everyone signed the confidentiality agreement, but that was just speculation. Without evidence, the Winbury family couldn't be convicted. The police asked Amelia how well she knew Sniper. Her face instantly froze, her mind involuntarily returning to the first day she arrived at the mansion. It was a winter day 2 years ago, when the Winbury family invited Amelia to visit. They had arranged a private plane to pick her up. The person who came to the airport to pick them up was Sniper. When they first met, he asked her if they had met somewhere before. She was momentarily taken aback, but denied it. When they arrived at the villa, the others hadn't arrived yet. They took a walk along the beach. Despite the freezing weather, Sniper took off his jacket and jumped straight into the sea. Amelia was moved by his bravery. She jumped into the sea with him. She had never told anyone about this past. Meanwhile, the police informed her that Sniper's phone contacts were full of powerful people. The police arrested Will and Chloe at sea. Luckily, there was no storm that night, so neither of them was injured. Will also frankly admitted the origin of the diamond bracelet. Before the incident, he had overheard Merritt telling Tag that she was pregnant. He wanted to advise Tag not to ruin the family. Will was only a month away from turning 20. He would then have the right to withdraw money from the trust fund. He was willing to give Merritt the entire sum without any conditions. But Merritt said that the issue wasn't about the money. That night, Will found the bracelet Merritt had thrown away on the beach. It looked very expensive. He thought she would come back to look for it, but in the end, he only received news that she was dead. The wound on his hand was from carelessness while using a knife to open oysters. Will feared that Greer wouldn't be able to bear it if she knew everything. But the police asked him if he was sure she really didn't know anything. When the police brought Will home, everyone in the family anxiously inquired about his condition. Abby picked up the phone, which was ringing incessantly. It was Broderick calling. As soon as she heard the name, Tag looked at Greer with a meaningful gaze. Greer was momentarily startled, but still refused to answer the phone. Amelia's suspicions grew stronger. She showed Benji a picture of Merritt. Only then did she realize it was a misunderstanding. Merritt had seen Benji drawing a picture for Amelia, so she had given him the picture. She also wanted to take some steps to post it on his blog to help promote it. In fact, Benji had witnessed Tag being intimate with Merritt firsthand. He called her many times just to persuade her to end the relationship. He had also heard about her pregnancy. He hid it from Amelia because he was afraid she would think he was the same kind of bad man as Tag. Benji promised not to hide anything from her anymore, but she was hiding another secret. That winter, after swimming with Sniper, the two of them sat in the fireplace. It was then that he suddenly remembered that 3 years prior, on Independence Day weekend at the Behaw subway station, a woman's necklace had broken. He wanted to help her find the pearls that had rolled under people's feet. At that moment, Another person also bent down to help. That person was Amelia. He immediately made a mental note of her, but back then, she was wearing a black band t-shirt, so she looked completely different from her current gentle image. That's why he could never be sure. Anyway, she was about to become Benji's wife. This love affair, which never even began, can only remain buried deep in my heart. Greer was writing her 28th novel, but she couldn't concentrate. She couldn't help but recall her conversation with Merritt before the murder. The scene was tense and hostile. Greer had warned Merritt that whatever Tag said was a lie. After years of marriage, she knew him well. However, Greer realized Merritt's refusal to drink indicated she was pregnant. Greer couldn't hide her anxiety. At midnight, she went to the bar to find the police and learned that Merritt's test results showed traces of a high dose of pentobarbital. An overdose of this drug can cause acute poisoning and death. Greer didn't ask any further questions. She simply handed over the receipt for the bracelet she had stolen from Tag to the police and left. The next day, the police arrived at the mansion and arrested Tag on suspicion of murder. Meanwhile, Amelia mustered the courage to go to Sniper. She no longer wanted to bury her feelings. She admitted that she was the girl from years ago and that she had long harbored feelings for him. They embraced, but their secret affair had been discovered by Benji. It seemed their wedding wouldn't go ahead. Greer was overjoyed. She even kept their family for a few extra days. Perhaps many mothers wouldn't dare admit it, but when their son gets married, they feel a little apprehensive. They fear being replaced by their daughter-in-law, becoming the one in the background. Greer was no exception. Benji had once thought Amelia was perfect, but now he wouldn't think so anymore. Tag sat in the police station humming a tune. It was the song he'd sung during an interview with Greer, but she'd criticized it as cheesy. It was also the song he'd sung for Merritt, but Merritt's reaction was completely different from Greer's. She enjoyed it and applauded, not reacting at all. Tag was in a very good mood. Even when Merritt told him she was pregnant, his reaction was one of joy and excitement. He even promised to take full responsibility. But promises made in the heat of the moment are the most unreliable. When asked about his relationship with Merritt, he said they had only known each other for about a year. But Merritt wanted more. She wanted his complete devotion. Greer's new book launch was about to begin. She announced publicly that Tag was absent due to health reasons, while the interrogation at the police station was far from over. Under pressure from the two investigators, Tag was forced to confess the truth. On the night of the crime, he intended to go boating. Before leaving, he had put his jacket on Merritt, the very jacket the police found. She then chased after him, asking if he truly wanted to keep the baby. But his emotions had cooled. He said that the love was real. The joy of knowing she was pregnant was real, but now wasn't the time. His words were subtle, but the meaning was clear. He never truly intended to take responsibility. Merritt gave the wrong heart from the start. Tag's smartwatch tracked his heart rate, lung capacity, and sleep cycle. It proved that he went to sleep around 2 a.m. The police discovered Merritt's body around 6 a.m. The pentobarbital didn't remain in Merritt's system for long. It's not precisely known, but it was certainly after Tag had fallen asleep. This watch conveniently provided ample time for them to commit the crime. At the book launch, Isabel proactively approached Amelia and said that Merritt had met her before the crime, appearing extremely depressed. They sat and talked, even breaking a glass while drinking. Now, the official press conference began, with readers from afar eagerly awaiting Greer's new book. After Tag was acquitted, he called Greer numerous times. Before security could remove him, he threw Greer's book to the ground in front of everyone. She calmly overlooked the incident. But in his drunken state, he staggered onto the podium to give his speech. He snatched the microphone from her hand and declared to everyone that their marriage was completely broken. They weren't the ideal couple everyone thought they were. Sometimes, they didn't even resemble a normal married couple. It was all a pretense. Even now, Greer is still trying to figure out how to handle the media, but it was too late. The book launch became a complete mess, a stain on her career. The police discovered something unusual in the sleep tracking app from the watch. Normally, there was data on the breathing of both of them, but on the morning of the murder, from 3 to 4:30, only one person was present. For almost an hour and a half, only Tag was in the bedroom. Where had Greer gone? The police traced the call from her office and discovered that at 3:08 a.m., she had called Broderick, who was at a hotel. It turned out Broderick was a low-level errand boy for a gang with ties to the Turkish mafia. He flew from London to the island on the very day of the murder. The police also discovered that before the crime occurred, Greer had transferred $300,000 to Broderick. She couldn't sleep all night, unconsciously recalling the night of the murder. She had stood by the window and seen Merritt leaving the beach. Unfortunately, Merritt stepped on a piece of broken glass on the ground, injuring her foot. Then Greer left the window. Merritt turned to look at the person walking towards her and smiled. Returning to reality, Greer thought about Merritt's autopsy results. she immediately went to the Pharmaceutical Research Institute to look up information about pentobarbital. Thomas took his socks and told Abby he was going for a run, then hurried out of the house. But she had long understood his behavior. He was just going out to deal with his relationship with the thief. Greer asked Amelia if she knew what medication Merritt had a habit of taking, but the answer was no. The police arrived at the house and took Greer to the station for questioning on suspicion of murder. They also confiscated some of her personal belongings. The whole house immediately descended into chaos. Broderick had numerous prior convictions. The police suspected Greer had conspired with Broderick to murder Merritt. She had asked Sniper to transfer money to him so she could avoid investigation and maintain her image as a model wife and renowned writer. Many journalists flocked to the gate of her mansion, eager to get more sensational stories. News about Greer quickly made the front pages of newspapers. Amelia told her parents that pentobarbital had been found in Merritt's body. Her mother's expression immediately changed. She searched a drawer in the medicine cabinet and found that the original 3 pentobarbital pills were now down to 2. Under police questioning, Greer admitted that she had known Broderick for many years. Each time he came to her, it was to ask for help. But because she had no money, she went to Sniper to borrow $300,000 and transferred it to Broderick. Seeing that she didn't provide any further information, the police summoned Broderick for questioning. Both denied any involvement in Merritt's death. Regarding the $300,000, Broderick claimed it was just a gift from Greer, but this wasn't a small amount. Unless he had some leverage over her, she wouldn't have given him the money without getting anything in return. The police had only 2 conjectures. Either Broderick knew Greer killed Merritt and used the money for blackmail, or it was payment Broderick received for killing Merritt. Unable to find any answers, they turned to questioning Sniper. More and more people were drawn into the investigation. Finally, Greer had to reveal the truth. Broderick was her older brother, born of the same parents. But he had fallen into addiction, and for years she had been helping him pay off his debts. This time, she borrowed money from Sniper because of the same reason. The investigation, which had gone in circles, eventually returned to square one. The police were almost at a loss with the case. Greer and her brother were declared innocent and released. She publicly acknowledged their relationship. She also revealed something even more shocking. Her affair with Tag was nothing like what she had portrayed on television. In reality, Greer was a bar hostess at the time, and Broderick ran a group of clients. Tag was one of them. She had kept this truth hidden for years because her background and past would cause her embarrassment and prevent her from maintaining the image of the perfect wife. The exemplary writer had finally lifted the last veil of secrecy. Greer could finally breathe a sigh of relief, no longer living in fear of being exposed someday. Tag's true heart, however, was left numb. Amelia, hearing her father recount the missing medication, learned that it was something her mother had prepared in case she couldn't bear the pain. A single pill wouldn't be fatal, but it would cause dizziness. The bedroom wasn't locked, so anyone could have taken the medicine. The most suspicious person was Thomas, the drug-mixing addict. Thomas was immediately taken to the police station for questioning. Abby watched him being led away, her heart pounding with panic. She quickly wiped down the drawers in the bedroom, as if trying to hide something. Thomas admitted that before the murder, he had sneaked into the room to take the drugs. But he thought it was just Amelia's painkillers. He hadn't given the pills to anyone, but somehow they had mysteriously disappeared. He searched everywhere but couldn't find them. Thomas also suspected Isabel. At that time, Isabel tried to stop him, saying that Merritt would eventually pay the price. Thomas had borrowed $2.5 million from Isabel. He promised to repay it in full when the trust fund was divided. As soon as Will turned 20, the 3 children would receive their share of the fund. But if Merritt and Tag's child was born, the fund would be reset, and they would have to wait another 20 years. Moreover, it would be divided equally into 4 parts. Perhaps it was because she feared losing the money that Isabel murdered Merritt. Isabel was so angry, she almost swore. It was true, she'd given Thomas a lot of money, but she also understood that anyone expecting money from Thomas was a fool. Furthermore, she and Thomas were at a hotel that night. The video from the driver's car could prove they weren't at the scene. How could she have had enough time to kill Merritt? But the police quickly discovered inconsistencies in the statements. The maid had said Thomas didn't come home that night. Abby, however, claimed Thomas slept in his room all night. The police immediately realized that Abby wasn't creating an alibi for Thomas, but for herself. After the crime, when investigators arrived at the mansion, they found Abby washing a glass. Given her status, why would she be doing that herself? Could the glass have contained traces of pentobarbital? When the police questioned her about the drug during bail proceedings for her husband, she evaded the question. When asked if she slept with Thomas the night of the crime, she firmly stated yes. This only fueled the police's suspicions. Everyone in the mansion was discussing the trust fund, speculating whether Isabel was the culprit. But if the motive was money, Greer suspected someone else. This time, the police came to arrest Abby. As she was being led away, she screamed hysterically. That night, she had caught Thomas having an affair with Isabel upstairs. She was already unhappy. She thought about how if Merritt's child were born, the fund intended for her and Thomas would be extended for another 20 years. So, she secretly took a pentobarbital pill from a small drawer and put it in a glass of orange juice. That night, Merritt saw Abby. When the drug started to take effect, Abby lured Merritt to the beach to swim. Taking advantage of Merritt's exhaustion, Abby held her head underwater until she suffocated. That's the entire sequence of events on the night of the murder. The perpetrator has paid the price, but the tragedies of this family may not be over yet. The film ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.